Hi folks, Florida Man here, and what you're listening to now is another part of Talleyrand. What follows is Talleyrand, 1903, the English perspective.
Right, now this is seeing how spring 1902 worked out. I can see that now France is going to backstab me, and I'm not happy about it. They said, England would be the DMZ, and all of their assurances are for nothing, because clearly from now they're just going to go to Liverpool from the Irish Sea, take London perhaps. I moved into Skagerrak last turn hoping that I could buy some time deciding if I was going to trust Germany or Russia, but it turns out that they took the North Sea, so they're probably going to take Edinburgh, so I'm probably out. This just did not go well for me. Again, I communicated well, but I think I haven't played. I played a lot of other countries, but I'm not a huge fan of playing England, and I didn't play it right. And so I imagine at this point, things aren't going to go well. Alright, now going to how fall turned out. I see that I actually took Sweden, which is nice. Russia thought I was going to mutually defend Norway, but turns out that I didn't, so they got Norway and I got Sweden, which leaves me in kind of a weird position for later on. I decided to go back to London. They're going to take Liverpool, obviously, so I'm going to have to lose one, likely for winter. Likely it's going to be Finland, just to make sure I stay alive for a little bit longer. At this point in the game, the only hope is that there's some major backstab and I can help in some way, and I really doubt it's at the negotiating table later for a draw, but it's not going to happen at this point. I probably lost. Haven't really thought about working with Germany. They haven't reached out to me yet. I moved into York, preventing a German convoy there, which actually is too bad because Germany wants to help me, or at least allegedly. I go into Edinburgh. It's going to require a couple more turns or coordination to take Edinburgh from me, so I'm really surviving that on. As I'm losing, I'm not really super engaged anymore and not really putting orders in. I think the tactical error at the beginning was just too much. And then for this spring going into fall, I'm thinking just about holding and doing an attack to Norway. I lost a unit that got disbanded, that had nowhere to go. France took London, so I'm not going to get that unit back. It'll just be two for the time being.
The Turkish perspective.
Game's not going great for me right now. A couple things happened that I found a bit unfortunate this last season. Germany didn't end up helping England out to stay alive, which Germany has so far gotten nothing out of that deal, and I don't see them getting anything out of that deal. But what that's meant is that Russia has had no contest up north, and in addition, France has started to grow really large. Now this year, what I expected was that France was going to build a fleet in Marseille, and so that they built a fleet in Brest and a fleet in Paris, and I expected them to do two fleets, because as France here, they're very close to getting the entire English island, and that gives them the momentum to start really conquering all of the north. And so if they were going to go for a solo win here, the only other center they would need besides all of their supply centers, all of the English supply centers, all of the German supply centers, and then the Norway, Sweden, and St. Petersburg is Tunis. And so especially with Italy being relatively undefended, I expected them to send some fleets around to try to take Tunis and just hold that while they then kept going in the north and go for solo. And I had been therefore encouraging Italy to defend themselves against such an attack because, for one thing, that means that Italy's going to have less potential to be aggressive towards me. And in addition, I just think that's the right move if I'm to stay alive to a draw, because I don't foresee a solo opportunity happening here for me. So I figured, if I'm getting into a draw, best thing is to prevent France from getting to a solo win. And so my hope would be to get France and Italy fighting. However, France, I don't know if they don't realize that's necessary or are trying to get Italy committed more eastward before they take their chance at that, which might be a viable strategy for them. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, that gave Italy the opportunity to head toward me. And the other unfortunate thing is I figured that if Italy was going to try to put a fleet into either the Aegean Sea or Eastern Mediterranean, since I was in Aegean Sea, they would maybe try for Eastern Mediterranean. So I moved to Eastern Mediterranean hoping to prevent Italy for a turn from moving in my direction. That didn't end up happening. The other unfortunate thing, I offered Austria to take Romania, which would have been successful. However, Austria did not take me up on that offer and instead did absolutely nothing.
Interesting.
Which I don't think that's strategic. I think Austria just realized they didn't have any allies among their four neighbors and decided to give up, which is a little bit disappointing, but I can kind of understand it. Either way, that meant that I felt, since I wasn't going to be able to protect my fleet in the Black Sea either way, and I would have had to move somewhere. So, I could either hold it and then move to Constantinople as a retreat, or I could potentially take Romania for myself. So I went to take Romania. I don't expect to hold Romania this season, but hopefully that slows Russia down a little bit. So currently I'm in full defense mode. Italy has made some comments seeming to suggest that they would be interested in working together, but I don't necessarily expect that to amount to anything, given that it seems like Italy did a very similar thing to Austria to learn their orders. I haven't told Italy what I'm doing. I've told them very specifically, I'm not telling you my orders because I think you would just tell them to Russia, but we'll see if they end up being honest in that regard and not making an attack on me. I think that's unlikely. I think right here what they're going to do is just go full force, which, given the situation with France, my hope was that if Russia and Italy both attacked me, that France would at least prevent Italy from making any progress, but it seems like France isn't doing that. And also, in the same respect, since Germany has been doing absolute nothing, I kind of hope that Germany would be able to prevent Russia from making too much progress, but that's not been happening either. So I may be out of this game relatively soon. But again, as Turkey, I can defend for a little while and maybe figure something out.
So I guess I'm wondering, what are you foreseeing? I mean, I'm guessing that you don't have a positive outlook for yourself right now, but what's your vision for the future of the map, and what's your vision for a possible way you could survive this?
Okay. Well, my vision for the future is I think the alliance structure is relatively set. Germany's out to Russia. France is sort of in a non-aggression pact with Italy. Italy and Russia are then working to finish off both Austria and me, and then England's going to get finished off in the north. I think France would end up stabbing Germany and kind of continue fighting in that direction. My hope would be, in the ideal case, that France this turn sends mid-Atlantic Ocean to Western Mediterranean and builds a fleet in Marseille in the winter. If that happens, I might stand a chance. I don't think it's at all possible that Germany does anything aggressive towards Russia here, in which case, but so there's nothing that Russia really is going to stop this attack, get Russia to stop this attack, which is, kind of unfortunate. But if I'm just defending against Russia, that's significantly easier than defending against both Russia and Italy. I would certainly collapse very quickly under the latter situation. But the former, I could hold out for, a couple of years, even if I lose Bulgaria. So, that's kind of my hope, is that France starts to attack Italy. But my realistic conclusion is that France is going to just attack Germany because they don't maybe not realize that Tunis is that important. And at this point, given that Italy's maybe signaling that they would be interested in continuing to work together, I don't want to be that strong of suggesting, France, you should attack Tunis, because then France probably just tells Italy, whom they've had a good relationship with, Turkey's telling me to attack you, which, might not be taken so well.
I can see that. I mean, at this point, do you think there's anything you could say to France that would change the way Italy feels about attacking you or not attacking you?
Well, I tried to encourage France to build two fleets.
Right.
They said they needed an army for defense, which, that's not what they're using that army in Paris for. Anyways, they don't need to defend because Germany's doing absolutely nothing anyways. So maybe they need an army to set up for a stab on Germany, which I don't know if that's really necessary either, because they always have that army in England that they can convoy back over, and fleets are probably more effective in general. But nevertheless, they decided not to build the two fleets. And I figured that was kind of the opportunity for me to kind of get them to do anything. And obviously I've been telling Italy for a whole lot of time, hey, look, there's all this France territory that's completely undefended that you can attack. But Italy's been like, oh, I've had a good relationship with France. I've had a good relationship with France and not done it. In fact, the move when I supported Italy to Greece rather than take it myself, the deal was supposed to be that they were moving to Western Mediterranean at the same time. And I didn't intend that to be, that's a really aggressive move against France, because if it's just one fleet, it really isn't, and it's easy to defend that to France. But what I wanted to see was that there wasn't a fleet in Tunis, so even if Italy built a fleet, they would only have 2 fleets directly in my vicinity. So that not happening was really kind of where I was like, okay, this is almost definitely not going to work out for me, especially with the fleet move to Armenia. But at that point, I didn't really have much to do. And so, I think one could make the argument that I was overly trusting of Italy in this situation, and I shouldn't have let them into Greece.
Perhaps.
I honestly didn't expect the Russia fleet to Armenia. I thought that was really weird, because it had seemed like Russia was a relatively straightforward player. They were, in this alliance with Germany, and Germany seemed very committed to the alliance. Austria had even said that they trusted Russia before, Russia stabbed, but Russia stabbed immediately. So it's, I didn't see a problem with that. And they seemed relatively okay with all of my moves. They'd let me into the Black Sea. They'd said, hey, if you want to move to the Black Sea, that's fine. And so I was like, okay, sure. If you offer that, I'll take you up on it. But maybe this was some sort of long con situation where I'm in the Black Sea, so I'm not going to then move to Armenia and giving them that opportunity. Maybe. I don't know. But it didn't feel, I didn't expect the Russian move. I kind of expected the Italian move. I also didn't expect the Italian move in the sense that if I were Italy, I would have definitely at least put one fleet against France saying, hey, look, you're not taking Tunis anytime soon. If you want to take it from me, you're going to have to take it with a lot of force, which France doesn't have the opportunity to put 3 fleets in the Mediterranean right now. And by the time that they do, Italy would be able to defend anyways. So,
interesting.
But putting one fleet against France is something that I would definitely do as Italy. And so, but other than that, I also would be very tempted to attack Turkey in this situation. So, but the Russian move was unexpected. So that kind of was problematic. And if I had thought about the Russian move, I may not have decided to support Italy into Greece.
If you had to try and predict who would be among the winners at the end of the game at this point, who are you thinking right now those would be?
I was, as I've said a number of times, I was expecting France to try to go for a solo here. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen based on France's play. They're seeming to just be straightforward. I want to make it into, a 2 or 3 person draw. In which case, I think France and Italy will definitely make it into a draw, and probably Russia would be my guess. Would be those 3 would end up drawing, because I don't really see any other way that the alliance structures work out here. Even though Russia's allied with Germany, Russia can't really defend Germany, and anyways, I don't see a reason for France not to attack Germany here. That seems like what, sorry, not Russia. What it seems like the logical conclusion is that France next attacks Germany if they're working with Italy so closely, and then Russia and Italy split up the eastern side of the board, and at that point, there's not really much opportunity for one or the other to stab. Italy's going to have enough fleets in the Mediterranean to prevent Russia's 2 fleets from getting out into the Mediterranean, and with that not possible, it's pretty easy for them to just stalemate the east, and therefore it seems like the only one to get cut out at this point is me, Austria, Germany, and England, which Austria and England are already basically dead.
I did have one more question, and that was it. I was going to ask, do you think there's any chance that Austria starts really playing again, gets back in this, starts diploming up a storm, and maybe saves this position that Austria is in?
If Austria wanted to do that, they would have needed to do it last turn. At this point, there's nothing I can really say to them, because I'm not going to specifically say, take Romania, because I don't necessarily want, because my plan is to move Romania to Black Sea to prevent any sort of supported attack, and if the fleet that is moving is Black Sea, then I'll at least get into the Black Sea. And that's fine to lose Romania. But either way, if the fleet is the one supporting, which I feel like is more likely, I don't want to force a disband of my fleet in Black Sea by Austria taking Romania. So I don't want to encourage them to make a supported attack there. And otherwise, I can't really help them at all. because I'm defending. So
You are. Yeah.
so I can't make an offer for them. I would be the only one making an offer.
Okay.
And I made an offer last turn, and they decided to not. I told them, "Hey, I'll support you to Romania." They said, "All right, I'm not doing that." Which
They ordered some
it
nonsense.
seems. Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, maybe they thought that I was just lying to them again, but I feel like they should have seen from the position that that's not what I was doing.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately,
And it's it's disappointing for me in general because I like an Austria-Turkey alliance. That's why my default Turkey moves are Army and Smyrna to Armenia. I think it's possible to recover from that and create a Turkey-France alliance as I kind of did, or Turkey-Russia alliance as I did in this game until now. But it also enables the Turkey-Austria alliance. But Austria just was a habitual liar to everyone, including myself, and so I had never the ability to trust them. And it encouraged literally all four of their neighbors to attack them, which, it left me fewer diplomatic options, which is always a disappointing situation. Though it had seemed with Italy and Russia that there were possibilities, but Russia surprised me, and so it goes.
I suppose so. The Austrian perspective.
This is a season where spring 1902 was immediately prior to this. I moved into Greece, tried to follow into Serbia. Turkey had blocked me. I got into Gal at the same time. Germany came into Bohemia. This was the year that I was really trying to pitch working with absolutely anybody other than Italy, because at a certain point it was not just on the board. I just didn't enjoy negotiating with them. We clearly had very, very different views on the game, very different philosophies, very different, preferred communication styles. And so I was thinking, well, okay, I can work with Italy, and maybe tactically he's the best choice. But then if it works, I'm talking to someone who I don't enjoy talking to for 2 months. No thanks. So I pitched myself to Russia, to Turkey. I was like, guys, I'll give you a sweetheart deal. Like, I don't want any dots. Let's make a deal and just be pleasant, and I'll work with the two of you, and you can have the better deal. And they both said no. So I couldn't pull it, which is fine. I mean, I guess from their perspective, maybe they feel like it's a trap. Maybe they feel like it's too good to be true. They're not in on my negotiations with Italy, so they can't necessarily take me at my word that relationship is broken down. But that's where it went. And so Germany's in Bohemia. I think while I was pitching to Russia and Turkey, the word got back to Germany that I was pitching to Russia and Turkey some moves that didn't bode well for the German. And so I assume that's why he is in Bohemia at this point.
I see. And as we see the fall, it ended with you being like sort of surrounded. Italy got into Trieste. I see Germany supported Russia into Galicia. And Turkey and Italy launched a coordinated attack on Greece.
Correct. Yes. When Russia and Turkey turned down my deal, I said, well, I mean, Italy, I guess we could do this. So I agreed to what he said, which is attacking Turkey. Obviously, he didn't really do that. He took Trieste, which was the right move for him, I think. Turkey made him a sweetheart deal. I think Russia made the right decision turning down my deal. He's working with Germany in the north, so there's no reason for him to work with me in the south. Italy made the right decision to stab me. I think he had a good thing with Russia here, and Turkey's offering him now 2 centers. Turkey, I think, is the one who made a big mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have seen Sev coming, right? In my opinion, he was always the odd man out. Russia didn't seem to be working well with him. They had miscommunicated over rum last year.
Yeah. And didn't Turkey open into Armenia?
Yeah, he opened into Armenia, then he backed out, and now here he is giving Italy, 2 centers, and I'm just thinking, where do you think Italy's going to go with those centers? But he was pretty clear that he didn't want to take any of my offers to put him into Romania. So that's his decision, and I'm fine with it.
The Russian perspective.
I follow through with building Fleet Sevastopol. That's no surprise.
Now you're really sincerely stabbing Turkey.
Yeah, I'm committed.
And I see England is destroying his army, so you're, going to be less threatened up in the north.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the spring. So tell me your thoughts on what happened here.
So I told Germany I wanted his support into Sweden in the fall. So this was all part of the plan that this held in place. Although maybe in retrospect I should have asked for him to just support me in. But in any case, that's what happened. And
I think probably Germany would have been reluctant to support you in. Looking at it, I see that if England had been pushed out of Sweden in the spring, he could have retreated to Baltic and then threatened German home centers. But, sorry, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
I guess that's what I was thinking. I don't remember. No, I think I was just concerned about the fleet in the Norwegian Sea bouncing me in Norway. I don't know why. That's not a big deal, though. But in any case, so that was what's going up in the north. And then I support myself into the Black Sea. That's predictable. And then I was also supporting Germany into Vienna. And it looks like Turkey does something that I, for some reason, did not foresee, which is that he boots me out of Romania, at least for the spring, which causes, some problems for me, because now I either have to dedicate those units to retaking Romania or taking a territory off him. So he, tactically speaking, is doing a pretty good job of holding off the swarm. And Austria seems to have given up with all those moves toward the Black Sea, illegal orders. So my prediction that Turkey and Austria would not start working together proved to be true. France makes some moves toward Italy.
I do see what you mean there. Moving to Brest and Spain.
And on England, for that matter.
Yeah, gotta watch out for those French. I mean, the English were already suffering under the boot of French oppression, so I suppose we're not terribly surprised that France continues taking over England.
Right, and Germany joining in the slaughter.
Yeah, Germany finally beginning to see some potential gain there.
And I'm the one who coordinated this whole stab of England, but I haven't gotten anything from it yet. I was supposed to get Sweden off of it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Usually I find that when Russia, Germany, and France dogpile on England, Russia gets Russia's main gain from that is just some measure of security from English fleets in the north.
Well, I got that, but what did I trade it for? Remains to be seen.
Some very lovely neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm sure will be very friendly.
That's how this game works, right?
Friendship is forever in diplomacy. The Italian perspective. Well, we can start with the builds.
Yeah. So what's going on here? So I just stabbed Austria. That's right. Stabbed Austria, talking to France, said, hey, let's keep that peace. Don't do a fleet in Mar. And they decided to not do the fleet in Mar, which made me really happy. So in fall 1902, Russia pulled into Armenia. And at that point, Turkey reached out to me and said, I bet you Russia does Fleet Sevastopol and kicks me out. And Turkey gives me the warning that if Turkey falls, I'm next. So
that's interesting.
I don't really believe them because at this point, Turkey had lied to me a couple of times. I discovered that Turkey was the one giving false intelligence that France was moving on me. And Turkey kept telling me and egging me on to move on France. I was like, I just don't trust you. I don't believe you. So they were right about Russia and their build, but I don't think they're right about Russia's overall intentions.
I mean, I think I will say that just looking at the geography, I don't think it's necessarily the case that once Russia goes after Turkey, he's naturally going to come after Italy.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, it does look an awful lot like Turkey could be in danger of getting kicked out of the Black Sea.
Indeed.
And that was a good year for you, huh?
I was expecting to get nothing, but I was able to pick up Trieste and Greece. So my Austrian stab worked. Stab, more like counter stab, after they invaded Venice spring 1901, which I found this out later, but Austria stopped talking to Germany in spring 1902. And I knew that they weren't getting much with Russia or Turkey, so I had a hunch I was the only one they were talking to. And honestly, they stabbed me spring 1901, and I think I've said this before, but when you stab spring 1901, you lose all credibility and respect and trust as a player. And moving forward, there was no way I could ever trust Austria again. So Austria is learning once again why Austria should never attack Italy at the outset. What are you going to do? So, spring 1903.
There we go.
So, Turkey and I were talking, and I didn't really trust Turkey. Turkey clearly didn't trust me. But I told Turkey, I'm moving Greece to Serbia. Take Aegean into Greece. It's yours, because I owe it to you. Turkey was upset that I didn't move against France. So I said, yeah, sure, you can have Greece. And so I told them that I worked out with Russia, that Russia was going to support me, Romania to Serbia. And so they believed that. Russia, turns out they did support me, Romania, Greece to Serbia. But Turkey didn't totally want to believe me. So they thought I was going to move into East. So they moved Aegean to East to bounce me. But that didn't work because my plan was for them to move Aegean into Greece. And then I put a fleet in Aegean and a fleet in Ionia. And I anticipated that Russian army retreating to Albania. So that in fall, I could pop that Turkish fleet in Greece and destroy it. That was the plan. Didn't quite work out that way, but it was fine. I got it to the Aegean.
This is good too, am I right?
Yeah, it worked. I mean, I didn't get Serbia like I wanted, but we got Germany into Vienna as promised, and Austria just gave up. They just gave up. And I don't know if they're still talking to anyone. I don't know if they still want to play. I don't know what they're doing. But the fact that they retreated Vienna to Tyre rather than just disbanding it makes me think that they're going to try one last move this fall. But we'll see.
Well,
sure enough, Russia came in hard. France pretty much knocked out England. So Germany has been trying to get me to move on France. And Germany told me that in spring they were going to move on France. And I said, if you move on France in spring, I will move against France in fall. Because I want to see Germany commit to something before I commit to France.
I do like seeing other people's commitment.
Yeah, I need to see them do something because Germany is a smart player. They're good. And I could easily see the scenario in which they goad me into attacking France and then they come down hard against me. I could see that. And I'm trying to avoid
to fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're already having a promising game, so.
Italy's hard. I hate Italy. But
Italy's hard, but it's going a little better for you than it typically goes, I think. Yeah.
So we're gonna pop Austria here, and then we're gonna be able to pinch Turkey. So for fall, I want to see Germany commit, and so I've worked out with France that we're going to do a bounce in West, and we're bouncing to keep each other honest and to figure out where Germany wants to go. So for Austria's still dangerous. Turkey's still dangerous, and Turkey wants to see me withdraw for obvious reasons. I would not be surprised if Austria and Turkey cooperate now, but then again, Austria has no friends. They alienated everyone and kind of made some poor tactical moves and poor diplomatic moves. So what Germany and I have agreed to is we're just going to attack everything, which will deny Austria the ability to support into anything, so therefore they will not take any ground. It's kind of a middle road. It's a safe maneuver. It'll keep Germany in Vienna, but we're not going to take any ground.
What's Germany supposed to be doing with his Vienna unit?
What's that?
What's Germany supposed to do with his Vienna unit? Because I see
Vienna is supposed to hit Budapest.
Oh, do you both need to hit Budapest?
Yeah.
Because I mean, couldn't you have asked him to support you into Budapest?
So I had said the other way around. How about I support Vienna to Budapest with Trieste?
Huh.
And he just didn't want to take that risk.
Interesting.
Because there's the scenario that Tyre comes into Vienna. I was sandboxing all of this to figure out what the different variables are.
Okay.
But Russia also wants Budapest long term,
Of course.
So that raises the question of, well, if you're in Budapest, then we have to deal with the you backing out, and I just don't think they want to deal with that. So I'm like, okay, I'll be the good ally, and we'll just all hit each other.
Okay.
And then I'm cutting support in Bulgaria, so Russia can take Romania.
With that, Russia can take Romania and Ankara, huh?
That is the plan. They're going to take Romania and Ankara. Yeah, Russia's looking at 3 builds this year, which can put them at 9 points, which is a lot. I'm a little worried about that, but I think I'm on good terms with them.
Russia's looking at 3 builds?
Or 2 builds, sorry.
Oh.
Ankara and Sweden. Germany is going to support them into Sweden.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Russia's becoming quite mighty. Huh.
They're going to be at 8 points, which is a lot.
Why do you think, why is Germany supporting him into Sweden?
Just to knock out England and be done with England.
Oh, I see. Because it just seems to me that if England is gone and Russia's got a fleet in Sweden and a fleet in St. Pete, North Coast, isn't Russia going to primarily be a threat to Germany now?
Indeed. So Germany, Russia, and I are in a 3-way, and I think we have a good relationship. I would be fine with that as the 3-way win. It just will depend if we can actually pull it off or not.
It should be interesting to see.
So at this point, I'm kind of tied to the hip with Germany. Germany wants to go against Russia, I'm in. If they want to go against France, I'm in. I'm up for it. If we want to do a 4-way, I'm fine with a 4-way. I just want to be on the winning team. That's all I want.
That is the better team to be on.
As Italy, I'm not trying to solo. Not going to happen.
No.
No. Not going to gamble it.
I mean, you're doing very well as Italy, I think, like relatively to a lot of other Italys.
We'll see what happens. I'm still curious about it.
Normally, in my experience, Italy, will either be stagnant, or if Italy grows at the expense of Austria, as you're doing, usually that comes at the expense of setting up a strong juggernaut or something. But it doesn't seem that there's going to be a juggernaut because you've got Russia apparently turning on Turkey, and so you're in a really good situation, I feel like.
Hope so. Yeah, I think so. I'm going to try and ping Germany again, be like, hey, I really want to make a game here. I want to use Trieste to support Greece to Serbia. I'm going to see if he's going to be okay with that.
What else do you foresee? I mean, do you think France is... Are you expecting France to move against Germany? I know you wanted Germany to move against France before.
France is a really good player and really cautious. To me, the game rests on Germany right now. Is Germany going to choose Team Russia or Team France? And I think that's going to decide the game. I think that's kind of where it's at. I don't think Russia... in my conversation with France said they also have that option to choose Team Russia or Team Germany, but I don't think they do as much because Russia can't move on Germany as well. They're not in position for it. I think Germany has the decision, really. I think Germany's won either way, but they're the ones that are going to decide who else is going to win.
I think Germany is in a very interesting position, but I don't think it's nearly as secure as you're suggesting, honestly. I think that, I think if I were Germany in this situation, I'd be worried, honestly. I think Germany should be glad that, that Germany and France have basically successfully eliminated England, but I think Germany is in danger of being attacked from every direction except south. Because I think Russia could very easily move against Germany, and I think France could do the same. And if France thinks that Germany is trying to get you to move against him, France might take some preemptive action that could be pretty bad for Germany. Germany isn't really, I don't know, Germany is still only going to be sitting at 6 at the end of this year if France doesn't help him into Edinburgh. So then France would be at 7, and France would have a build, and France already has forces that are, if France chose to move with the element of surprise, could be moved east into Germany. I don't know. If Russia chose to build Army Warsaw as well...
The tables can turn very quickly.
That's what I'm saying.
When I say I think Germany has won the game either way, it's more from a diplomatic standpoint. That Germany has a really good relationship with Russia and France.
Okay, that's a fair point.
Whoever they commit to and fight against the other, that team is going to win. That's what I'm saying.
That's a fair point. I mean, I was just speaking to the positional security or insecurity, but that's all I can actually see because I'm just looking at the map. You are the one who is looking at the messages, so you have probably a greater insight there.
Yeah.
So Austria, you think, is done. Turkey, do you think Turkey is going to pull off any tricks and maybe...
I think so.
No, okay. Just curious. So this game, you don't think it has any really big twists or turns yet or left, except for that Germany is going to decide who he wants to side with, and you're also going to decide if you want to pull any shenanigans yourself.
Yeah, I'm not planning anything. I'm going to be a team player. I don't want to be a solo on this.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, the only other possibility is France and Russia then team up and meet in the middle. And they could be hiding that, and we would have no idea.
I mean, it's funny. Even in many games, even when I was Russia, I hadn't had that big of a strong connection with France early on. It's such a natural maneuver for France and Russia to pull off together that sometimes we just kind of fall into that. We only need to exchange a couple of messages to set it up because to France, Germany will frequently look like just a big, juicy repository of centers during the mid-game.
Yep.
But we'll see. I mean, you've really conveyed that Germany has a strong diplomatic pull here. So
indeed,
we will see. The German perspective. How are you feeling today?
I mean, I feel all right. I'm expecting to get 2 builds. We'll see if that pans out.
Spring 1903. And yeah, sorry. Now, please tell me what you've been thinking, what's been going on.
Yeah, so we're sort of at an interesting inflection point in the game where, there's, Austria's basically going to be gone soon. So I have to decide whether I'm going to side with France or with Russia. I think I'm safe with Italy. I think we've sort of worked something out that it doesn't make sense for either of us to attack each other. So I'm expecting... Yeah, so let's see. So the deal before was that I would support Russia into Galicia and not go for Venice last year if they supported me into Vienna this year, which they agreed to do. So I'm there, but then of course Vienna retreats to Tyrolia, potentially causing problems. I think we worked out a way for that to work out, but it requires Italy to do their part, me to do my part, and Russia not. Russia's able to keep focusing on Turkey. So what's supposed to happen this turn is that Venice taps Tyrolia, Trieste and Vienna tap Budapest, thereby making it impossible and Greece taps Serbia, making it impossible for Austria to support themselves into any dots.
I see. That does make it pretty hard for Austria, yeah.
Right, and Kiel covers Munich.
I was wondering if that would be part of it.
Yeah, that seems to be a key part. So, meanwhile, in the West, France has offered support from Holland to Edinburgh.
Ah, interesting.
Which is interesting because it leaves me open to the possibility of a French dot grab in Holland. So that's, I hope that they won't do it. I hope that they can see that I want to keep working with them. I hope that they continue to want to work with me, but, I'm aware that the possibility is there. Regardless, if Italy does their part and France doesn't, I won't have to disband anything. But also, if they don't support me into Edinburgh, then they can't get Holland, right? So that's sort of the thing. Like that, Holland only gets into Edinburgh with their support.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'll still get a build if they support me into Edinburgh and take Holland. That doesn't seem like it would make any sense. So I'm sort of hoping that they'll see the logic of that and decide that it doesn't make sense to attack me and instead send their fleets down towards Italy. I suggested that they go to North Africa because I'm pretty sure that Tunis is going to pop up to West. And so better, instead of just bouncing, go to North Africa, bring the English Channel to the mid-Atlantic, and then you can support yourself into the Western Med next year, I think, with an improved position rather than just bouncing and having your fleets backed up.
It's an interesting idea. Do you think they're going to do it?
I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't, unless again they want to position themselves to attack me.
Did France answer you about whether that was going to happen or not?
Not yet.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They said that they were going to reposition their fleets against Italy. I made that suggestion and have yet to hear back whether they think it's a good idea or not. Okay. Italy wants me to move against France and was encouraging me to take Belgium in the spring.
Interesting.
which I was thinking about. Actually, I floated the idea first that maybe we should consider moving against France, simply because I was a little bit worried that France had built in Brest and not in Marseille.
I understand that. It does seem to signal northern interests rather than southern interests.
Exactly.
Although France did immediately move to mid-Atlantic Ocean.
Right, which is what they said that they were going to do.
Right. So you had mentioned the idea that you have to choose between France and Russia as your allies.
Essentially, that's sort of since I'm sort of stuck in the middle of two people who are slightly bigger than me.
You have to choose which one to attack.
I have to choose which one to attack, exactly.
And what are you thinking right now?
So in this moment, I'm leaning towards sticking with France, assuming that they don't stab me, and not supporting Russia into Sweden.
I see.
Which is what is expected of me.
Ah.
Because Russia already gets a build. They don't need two. Russia is going to get Ankara and I think going to take back Romania. Because right now Turkey's in Romania. Ankara is undefended, right?
Yeah, appears to be.
So Turkey is going to take both of those and get a build, right? They don't need two. Two does not spell good news for me, as far as I can tell. Plus, having an extra, I don't need England to be dead, right? They can still have a fleet. If they have one extra fleet instead of Russia having an extra army, that's good for me.
I think so. I think you have a good point. I like to keep small powers alive for longer, rather than have them die early, especially if I'm not the one who made them small.
Well, yeah, I mean, France did most of the work here. The other. Oh, this is also interesting. So back before the turn, back before spring happened, Italy and I were talking about the possibility of moving against France, and obviously, okay, let's see if we can keep England alive, and maybe they'll help, and that'll make that succeed. So I sent a message to England and said, hey, I want to help you survive. Let's coordinate. They didn't respond until after adjudication. Right? So their fault, as far as I can tell, because I bounced them in Yorkshire, and they had to disband that fleet. If we'd been able to coordinate, they would still have an extra fleet, and then I would be inclined to work with them against France. But now they can't do anything against France, essentially. So they're kind of useless, so I might as well just take that die in Edinburgh and get to build an army on land. Maybe. Now I'm rethinking that, but...
I'm not trying to persuade you of anything.
No. That just occurred to me that it's not necessary for me to do that if I intend to go against France. But since I'm not intending to go against France, I should take the dot. But the point being that it's their own fault for not messaging me back. But people can't be checking, Backstabbr for messages all the time. But it would have behooved them to coordinate before the turn.
I think it certainly couldn't have hurt anything.
Yeah, right. I mean, I genuinely wanted to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have actually gone for Belgium if I'd heard from them.
Wow. Well, that would have changed things up for sure.
For sure, it would have. So you can thank them for their whatever the word is.
Tardiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's resulted in France having quite a strong position.
Right. No, for sure. Which, as long as they're not using it against me, I'm okay with. But we'll see how long that lasts.
So, what are you seeing over the next season or so?
So, I mean, in the fall, I'm basically playing defensively except for getting Edinburgh. We'll see if France takes my advice in terms of fighting Italy. I mean, Italy is torn, right? They can't fight Turkey and France successfully.
That sounds difficult.
Let's see. Turkey's going to probably have one disband. So they'll probably disband that fleet that's now in Romania. So they'll still have a fleet in the Eastern Med to fight back against Italy. So I honestly like France's odds here against Italy. Better than their odds against me. I know I'm biased.
Well,
okay. So what happens here? So I'm currently deciding whether, I know I don't have a ton of time to make this decision, but I'm sort of weighing back and forth whether I misorder and pretend to support St. Petersburg into Sweden, which makes no sense, but just see if I can play that off. Or if I actually take that into the Baltic. One is obviously aggressive, the other is passive aggressive. But, I mean, it creates some doubt, right? Like, obviously Russia is skeptical, but there's still enough doubt where it's like, okay, I'm gonna give them one more chance, maybe, right? Because I know I've done that with players. Be like, I'm skeptical, but I'm gonna give you one more chance to prove that you're, because you want people to be on your side. You're hoping that they will be, and so you're biased, right?
Yeah, there's a wishful thinking trap we can all fall into.
Exactly right. So if I can take advantage of that for a turn, maybe that's good for me. rather than just like showing my cards and saying, hey, I'm moving to Baltic. I didn't support you into Sweden, haha. Okay, so if I get 2 builds, I mean, I probably build 2 armies, either in Kiel or Munich, depending on whether I get bounced in Munich. Assuming France moves south, I'm able just to sort of shift into position west, considering maybe supporting Italy into Budapest. I know it's supposed to be Russia's, but it doesn't have to be, right? And it's good for Italy if Russia is less powerful, because if Russia is so powerful, they get basically all of Turkey, and there's not a lot Italy can do about that. But if Russia has to fight me as well, if Italy's also fighting France, you know what I mean? If Russia's super powerful and only has to focus on Turkey, what can Italy do, really? Except for sort of be like, I want 1 dot, and maybe you get Bulgaria or something. But if Russia is distracted, Italy has a better shot at getting some Turkish dots. So that's my case to Italy for why maybe we should fight Russia.
That's an interesting point. And it's an interesting situation you find yourself in.
This is, Germany in the middle game. I don't think I'm good at it. I've been in sort of this similar situation where I've managed to knock out England. This is like maybe the 3rd or 4th time I've found myself in a similar situation. Obviously, it's a little bit different dynamics. Austria's dead. But it's just interesting to find yourself in a similar situation as before and be like, okay, last time here was my mistake. How can I try and do better this time?
I understand. It is difficult. There's a delicate balancing game with Germany. And I often think that it's good for Germany to pick France over England, but then you always have the possibility of getting stabbed by France. And I also often think that it's good for Germany if Austria stays alive, but then if Austria gets really strong, Germany's in real trouble. So there's all kinds of conflicting pressures when it comes to Germany's well-being. Way too dependent on what's going on with the other countries in every part of the map.
Right, that's what makes it fun, but also makes it a challenge.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right, that it's good if Austria stays alive. But this Austria, I don't know if I mentioned this before, Austria has not talked to me since like 1902.
In terms of the diplomacy of it, that's terrible for Austria not to at least try to talk his way out.
I've made 3 or 4 attempts. So they made this opening. They opened Trieste to Venice when we were talking about doing a central triple. I didn't think that made sense. They tried to defend why it made sense. I sort of made fun of that a little bit. They didn't, okay, so like, I'm allowed to make fun of your stupid move if you make a stupid move. Yeah, you gotta have a little bit of a thick skin and be like, okay, maybe that was a stupid move, let's move on, right? Am I wrong about that?
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, like I don't think I didn't insult them in any way. I didn't say it was mean. I just said I thought this is an ineffective move.
Some people are thin-skinned. I don't know. Again, they haven't messaged me. I said, hey, look, I'm sorry that I was aggressive, but I'm not trying to, I want to work with you here. I want to make this work. Haven't heard from them. So yes, I would like Austria to live, but I can't do it if they don't talk to me. No, I understand. And at this point, maybe the bridge is crossed. You are in Vienna.
Well, I mean, right.
And Italy's in Trieste. Austria's home centers are besieged or taken.
Right.
So,
but it didn't have to be this way, is the point.
That's true.
It's their fault. It's always somebody else's fault, right? But in this case, it actually is.
What are you foreseeing over the next season or so?
In terms of fall?
Yes.
So what I'm expecting is that I'll take Edinburgh. I'm expecting France to move to either North Africa or Western Med. If they move to Western Med, I'm expecting them to bounce, because I'm expecting to see Tunis go to Western Med. I'm expecting 3 taps on Austria, Venice to Tyrolia, Trieste to Budapest,
right.
Vienna to Budapest, Greece to Serbia, sort of to prevent Austria from doing anything. Expecting Russia to try for Sweden, expecting my support. They're not going to get it. And then expecting Russia to take back Romania and Ankara. Don't know what Turkey's going to do. Presumably try to defend themselves somehow.
Somehow.
I mean, they have to sort of cut their losses somewhere. I don't know if they're going to try to cover Smyrna, cover Constantinople. It'll be interesting to see whether France stabs me. Again, I don't think they should. Don't think they will. Could happen. Wouldn't be the first time. I don't know. I guess, I don't know what St. Petersburg does. I guess maybe it moves to Norway, thinking that Norway moves to Sweden. And so again, I mean, 2 Russian fleets in the north also not great for me, if Russia's powerful.
That's a fair point, I think.
So I don't need them to have I just don't need them to get more powerful. But I also don't want them to be mad at me, so I'm inclined to misorder and just deal with it.
I can understand that. Did you consider asking Russia to support you into Sweden instead?
I didn't. No, that's a good. They've been pretty clear that they wanted Sweden for a couple turns now, so that didn't cross my mind. But it's not a bad idea. It's too late for that sort of thing. But would have been interesting to consider that possibility had I thought about it. But then again, Russia already sees that I'm getting a build in Vienna, potentially getting a build in Edinburgh. They're entitled to say you don't need 3 builds. And I couldn't use 3 builds even if I had them. Now, I mean, not to say I don't want the extra.
Couldn't.
But also getting a ton of builds isn't usually a good thing, especially as Germany. Some countries can get a bunch of builds and sort of defend themselves. Germany gets 3 builds. Everybody's like, Germany just got 3 builds. Everybody can now, because the board is so connected, everybody is impacted when Germany's big. Everybody's going to target Germany now. So I don't need that.
That's a fair point. The Austrian perspective.
Spring 1903.
And you order all of your units to invade the Black Sea. Tell me, what was your thinking there?
My thinking was I was walking the plank, I guess. I was being cast off the diplomacy ship. I thought where better to be excommunicated to than the Black Sea. It is a beautiful geographic area, and hey, if I had gotten in, I would have looked pretty damn smart.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you had taken the Black Sea, you'd have a pretty good position to attack Turkey.
Absolutely.
So it is at this point that Germany actually overtly attacks you directly
Yes.
with Russian support. And what do you think about all this stuff that's happening around you?
I think it is the result of breakdown in communication, kind of like I described earlier, with just not even being able to get to reasonable negotiations with Italy and Germany. They very much wanted to rehash Spring 1901. They didn't want to talk about anything other than, that they didn't like what I did in Spring 1901.
I've had this just people who are just stuck in the past.
Absolutely. And so I'm thinking, I don't want to talk about Spring 1901 for 48 hours every season. So I actually played this season gunboat. I didn't talk to anybody. And so you have a 4-way attack, right? Germany, Italy, Russia, and Turkey. And my opinion has always been, in a 3-way attack, it's really a 2-way attack and one sucker. And so when it was Russia, Italy, Turkey was the sucker. Now they've drawn in Germany. And I think in a 4-way attack, it's still a 2-way attack, but they found a second sucker. And
if you had to describe who the sucker is now, who's the sucker?
It's got to be Germany. He takes Vienna, and in a sense, I don't hate, if you're in a really strong position in the north and you want to send an army into the south to get involved, I don't mind that from Germany, even this early. Mm-hmm. But his position in the north isn't great. France is getting all the gains. Russia's making progress up top, and I don't know that his position was nearly stable or strong enough to be doing this at this point in the game. And well done by Russia, kind of taking advantage of, I guess, Germany's frustration with me to bait him into probably a really bad move.
Fair point, I think. Yeah, it's not necessarily an ideal situation here. Germany's not going to be able to defend Vienna, and who knows what France may do in the West at this point. And what are you thinking about all this sort of tangled mess here with the Turkish and Italian stuff and Russia, really? I mean, I guess Turkey's really no longer involved in the attack on you. So
right, Turkey's gone into full kind of defense.
Turkey has its own problems now.
Absolutely. Unfortunate he had a guess in the between Aegean and Eastern Med, and I think I probably would have tried the same guess if I were him. I would have tried to bounce Eastern Med, and he made his guess. Italy guessed better, and now that's just a devastating position. I don't think you can come back from the Italian and the Aegean and the Russian in black, and they're circling.
Anything else you want to note about the positioning or the diplomacy at this stage of the map?
I'm impressed with what France and Germany did, popping the English fleet in the north. I think that was good coordination. I'm more impressed with France because, again, he's the only one building off of it, but still good teamwork.
Hope you've liked this video, and if so, I hope you'll like and subscribe and check out more of my stuff. Until next time, Florida Man out.